I'm excited to welcome you to the first breakfast briefing of 2019. My name's Hunter Hill. I'm a member of the BGR board and the chairman of the Breakfast Briefings Committee. BGR is a nonprofit, nonpartisan public policy research firm dedicated to informed policymaking and the effective use of public resources. BGR's reports identify opportunities and solutions on high-leverage issues in local government. We also monitor more than 70 government entities across Jefferson, Orleans, and St. Tammany parishes. BGR's goal is the improvement of government in the greater New Orleans area. Our breakfast briefings further BGR's mission by allowing citizens and policymakers to discuss issues that affect all of our lives. We hope you will take advantage of the question and answer portion of today's program. On your seat, hopefully everyone has a flyer with instructions for submitting questions through the Slido app or website, and today's event code is 2300. Again, that's 2300. If you prefer to write your questions, please feel free to do so. Hopefully you have a card to do that, and we'll hold it up at the appropriate time, and a BGR member will come around and pick that up from you. And we always ask to include your name if you'd like to be identified. The best way to stay on top of all the BGR events and our research is to become a member. We regularly engage with our members about our public policy work. BGR values this dialogue, and we appreciate our members' support in amplifying BGR's good government recommendations. So if you're not currently a member, we ask that you consider joining the ranks of concerned citizens working to improve our local government. And now to introduce our topic this morning is Dennis Woltering. You all know Dennis as WWL TV's former anchor. He continues to serve our community and is an active member of the BGR board. Thank you, Dennis. Glad you're here with us and look forward to today's program. Thank you.
Thank you, Hunter. I'd like to express gratitude to Iberia Bank for its generous sponsorship of BGR's Breakfast Briefing Series in 2019. Their support allows BGR to make these events free to the public. I would also like to acknowledge BGR's President and CEO, Amy Glowinski, and BGR's award-winning staff. They do a fantastic job of planning and executing these events. In January of 2019, Shaun Ferguson became the New Orleans Police Department's new superintendent. While a lot of citizens are just getting to know him, Superintendent Ferguson knows the city very well. He's a New Orleans native who was raised in the lower 9th Ward and moved to Algiers during his junior high school years. He graduated from O. Perry Walker High School in 1990, eventually joined the NOPD in 1998. During his tenure, he earned a bachelor's degree in business administration and a master's degree in criminal justice from the Southern University of New Orleans. His 21-year career at NOPD has led him from the beat to the top job as chief. He spent the past 6 years in leadership positions, commanding the 4th District, the 2nd District, and most recently the Educational and Training Division, which oversees the Police Academy. Superintendent Ferguson takes over a department that has made significant strides toward complying with the federal consent decree. The NOPD has also worked to shore up its ranks through recruitment and by implementing new technologies to support its officers. It has also worked to increase public confidence through community engagement. Still, more work remains to be done before NOPD becomes in full compliance with the consent decree and achieves the longer-term goal of becoming a model police department. Here today to share his perspective on these issues and discuss his vision for a safer New Orleans is New Orleans Police Superintendent Shaun Ferguson. Thank you so much for joining us today, Chief. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Well, Dennis, thank you for that introduction. That is about 5 minutes of my presentation gone. I won't be able to see some things I wanted to say, but BGR, Ms. Amy, thank you for this warm invitation this morning. New Iberia Bank, thank you for allowing us to be here this morning. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure to be standing before you this morning. I know coming into this position, the mayor was looking within. She had the confidence and trust within our department that we have great leaders that she could promote from within, as well as she felt that she needed someone to pick up the ball and run with it. little did I know that I would be running so hard, so fast. As you could tell by the media, news, and papers lately, I have truly been running for the 2 months I've been in office. So still standing, thanks to support by you as the citizens and the men and women of the police department have been holding us strong, and I thank you for your constant support. But when BGR contacted me about this opportunity to talk to you about our progress, our success, and some of my visions for the New Orleans Police Department, I jumped at this opportunity. Did not hesitate. This is indeed an honor to be able to share with you what is going on with our police department. You, as business leaders, as community leaders, as citizens, play a vital role in what it is that we are doing and what our mission is in moving our department as well as our city forward. So thank you for your partnership with us. Many faces I recognize from my 21 plus years on the job. Some people I just met this morning. I think this is a great opportunity for me to bridge and build upon old relationships that have been established in the past and forge on some of these new ones that can be built on beginning today, because together this is how we as a city can be successful. This is not just a New Orleans Police Department issue. This is just not a business leader or business community issue. This is not just the citizens of New Orleans issue. It is all of us working together issue. And by you being here this morning, this early Wednesday morning, it shows your commitment, your support, and your love for not just the New Orleans Police Department, but for our great city, that we all have the same common goal in making safer. But while I'm standing here, I refuse to just stand here and say that everything is picture perfect. As Dennis alluded to before, we have the consent decree. We made significant strides, but there's still a few more benchmarks that we must reach. And I'm confident within the next year, we will be moving to our monitoring phase. That is an ambitious goal of mine. That is a part of my vision. And I'm pushing the men and women of our department to move forward with that. And I am a firm believer that we will do so. So as we move, as we strive every day as a police department, the story was, this is the most dangerous city in the country. This is the worst police department in the United States. But now that story has been rewritten. A foundation has been placed for us, working with the consent decree. We are no longer the followers, we are the leaders. We have departments coming from across the country, from the Los Angeles Police Department to New York, Boston, and even Baltimore now is coming to us and looking to see what it is that we are doing here in New Orleans in 21st century policing and constitutional policing and policing reform so quickly. That is something that has been placed before me, and that's something that I'm embracing now, that we will build upon moving forward. In 2019 already, we have been approached about going to various agencies across the country to teach them or talk to them about programs such as EPIC, our EPIC program, which started right here at the New Orleans Police Department. EPIC is Ethical Policing is Courageous. This is an opportunity for the men and women of our police department to right our wrongs. If they see an officer doing something that is not right, something that is not becoming of a New Orleans police officer, that gives them the opportunity to say something right then and there and address the situation. We're no longer being quiet. We're no longer covering it up. They're stopping the issue right there at that moment and addressing that officer before he or she do something to end their career or ultimately impact or fracture our trust that we have fought so hard for to get from you. So with EPIC becoming a forefront of our police department, we're going to Georgetown University next month. We're going to Clemson University next month. We're actually hosting an EPIC program in June, our second year in a row at Loyola University. It speaks volumes of things that we are doing to reform policing across America. And again, major city police associations, major city police agencies are looking at us and what it is that we are doing. Another vision is to build up our New Orleans Police Department. Recruitment is vital. It is the essence, it is the backbone of what we need to do in moving forward. We must be able to pass this torch, just as it has been passed to me. Early this month, I had the opportunity to speak to our newest class of recruits. I explained to them how they are joining the department that many envy. They're joining the department that many are looking up to and following our lead. I was once in their shoes over 21 years ago, not knowing where I would be, not knowing where my career path would take me. But as I moved throughout the ranks, I've always had this hunger inside, in which I looked at my supervisors, looked at my counterparts to see how I could better myself. So the man, the officer, your superintendent of police that stands before you is a combination of the great talent and skills that I've learned from my predecessors. So my commitment to you, the citizens, the business leaders, my hometown, is stronger than ever. It is not because I am the chief of police. It is because of the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department and the work that they do. The work that they do on the streets, the work that they do off the streets, the work that they do with you to build our city and place it in a better place. It's evident of the work that we have done. We ended 2018, and you may have heard this, ended 2018 with a great mark, a 47-year low in murders. That is unheard of. And entering into 2019, we're doing the same. That momentum is going as we approach the end of the first quarter of 2019. We're 51% down in murders. We're achieving another double-digit reduction in armed robberies. This will be our 4th year in a row in doing that. And then also non-fatal shootings. Right now we're 18% down in non-fatal shootings. And last year we had a substantial reduction as such. So the men and women of your police department are doing the right things. They're pressing forward. They're carrying the momentum as I've asked them to do. We refuse to let up. We will not go backwards. Again, as I mentioned before, recruitment is a top priority. With partners such as the Police and Justice Foundation, we are able to build forward. We are able to build upward. Last year, our attrition was the lowest it has been in nearly 20 years. That is due to morale being up. That is due to officers being provided with the resources and tools that are needed and expected for them to do their job. And most importantly, that is due to the customer satisfaction, which is you, the citizens, who are happy with them. And we can see that through our various resources. We see that we are up with your satisfaction. That means a lot. My success in every level, every rank has been because of my support and work with you. So public trust is the number one issue, is another issue in which we want to keep going. It is one of our biggest weapons to fight crime. It is you who see more than we see. And we've always asked, if you see something, say something. In this past Mardi Gras was evident of that teamwork, that partnership. We had a decrease in overall arrests, 311 going compared to over 400 arrests last year. But we had an increase in gun arrests this year, 81 compared to 56 in the French Quarter as well as along the parade routes. And that was due in part to you telling us when you saw something. And we ask you to continue to do that. We are just as much of a partner to you, important partner to you, as you are to us, and we thank you for that. We have a moral obligation. It does not stop with the public trust. It does not stop with the innovation, the technology, and the recruitment. We as a department, we have a moral obligation to pass the torch to our next generation. And one of my biggest visions is to increase that public trust, increase that partnership through programs such as PALS or some sort of youth engagement program in which we can build our future. Let our kids know that there is hope for tomorrow. We have this partnership with you that are in here now, but our youth, we need them to be just as much a part of this partnership. A pet peeve of mine I would like to share with you, just ask that you, if you could take this home, share this with your neighbors, your friends. When you're in the store with your kids are going to be kids. They're going to shout. They're going to touch things they should not touch. They're going to run. They're just going to be kids. And you see that officer down the aisle picking up his or her own groceries. Please do not use that officer as a discipline tool. I absolutely hate it, and that's something that I've always shared with my family. We do not want that is where it starts with that child right then and there. It begins that us against them syndrome. We're here to help them, not to discipline them, not to chastise them, to help them. And we need you to help us deliver that message, because together we are a team. We are one. So moving forward with this vision, the vision is to continue the momentum. The vision is to continue with our recruitment push, reduce attrition. I hope to see over the next 3 years an additional 150 officers on this job at the minimum. We netted 30 last year. My goal is 50 this year, and I'm going to keep building on that 50 in the following years. We want to increase our quality investigations, the quality and effectiveness of our investigations. By the end of this year, we'll be breaking ground on a new crime lab. I think that is important. This day and age with technology, innovation, with DNA. You know, everyone sees the NCIS Los Angeles, the NCIS New Orleans, and there's some expectation of us. And we want to step forward and make sure we meet those expectations. Also, closing out this consent decree. Again, moving into this monitoring phase within a year. It is ambitious of me, but I believe in the men and women of New Orleans Police Department will continue to do so. And last of my vision is to strengthen this relationship with you, but more importantly, with our youth, and making sure that this city stands strong as it did yesterday, as it is doing today, so shall it be on tomorrow. So in closing, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules for allowing me this opportunity. As I said during my swearing in, this is more than a job. This is a great responsibility, and I do not take it lightly. I will continue to instill in my officers to pursue what is right and to change what is wrong. And we'll continue to be transparent, embrace technology and innovation, work tirelessly to uphold the national reputation that we have developed as the model of police reform in America. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief. In keeping with BGR tradition, we have some questions from the audience. I want to start with one about EPIC. I read about that. You mentioned that that's one thing people are coming to find out about. It's ethical policing is courageous. It's a peer intervention program based on the idea that greater accountability builds camaraderie and strengthens the chain of command. How exactly does it work?
I can give you one example. So I remember a few Mardi Gras ago, we had a lieutenant was approached by a citizen. Well, the lieutenant approached a citizen who crossed the barricade. and that lieutenant asked the citizen to get back behind the barricade. It's there for a purpose, to protect the kids as they're marching in the parade. And that citizen just refused. They were inebriated, so they just refused to cooperate with the lieutenant. And the lieutenant was getting frustrated, I guess you could say, with the situation. And you can tell at that moment that the lieutenant was about to take an action that he or she should not have taken. And at that time, a sergeant stepped in. "Lieutenant, I have this," and pushed the lieutenant aside and spoke to the person. The person quietly went about their way at that time. But it is moments like that, before that lieutenant put themselves in a position where he or she would have lost their job, that peer intervention prevented that from happening. And that is how it's supposed to work.
And no retribution from the lieutenant?
No retribution from the lieutenant, and that is why it is so effective, because we are encouraging officers to hold one another accountable. And I think at that moment, that made that lieutenant look at it differently, because now I have someone who is under me telling me what to do, and we embrace that.
All right. The city has provided the NOPD with an operating budget of $192 million for 2019. In your view, does this budget give NOPD what it needs to operate effectively? Does the department have important unfunded budget needs? And what are your budget priorities?
To answer your question, the first question, 192, of course, we would always love more money. We always, I would never say that is enough. So, for what we have right now, it is enough. But as I see our department growing, we will need more. I mean, as a part of hopefully moving away from the consent decree and using that same money to build our department for resources like the crime lab in which we want to invest into, marketing our department better. I mean, across the country, every agency, major city agency, is having the issue of recruitment. Police and Foundation has been tremendous in helping us to stay above ground with that, but that extra money could be used towards innovation and technology. We want to be a leading agency, not just in reform per se with behavior of police misconduct, but in technology and innovation as well.
Okay. Donald, Billy Marshall of the Horizon Initiative asks, why not implement stop and frisk? It cleaned up New York, he says, and the Supreme Court ruled it is legal if done properly.
We as a department, it is all about constitutional policing. I mean, I understand that may be legal in New York. It may very well be legal here, but we want to make sure that our residents and our visitors do not feel that they are always being targeted for whatever reason. We are more relaxed, I can't say, in New Orleans than we are in New York, than they are in New York. But stop and frisk is absolutely part of our deployment, a part of what we do, but we do not just go out and violate or stop people randomly for nothing. I think we've been successful with this Mardi Gras, as I mentioned before, identifying the right individuals. By removing those several guns off the street, what we have right now is working for us.
A member of the audience asks, what happened to community policing program, beat policing? Is it coming back? And I was going to ask you about the same thing. How do you define the term community policing?
That is a great question, because that is a very broad definition, in my opinion. I think every one of us in here have a different definition of community policing or community engagement. I mean, I think the men and women of the New Orleans Police Department have been doing a great job with that. You see that during Mardi Gras. We have the second lines, we have the Mardi Gras Indians, and those men and women, excuse me, are just as much a part of those organizations, so they know what it is that is needed and expected of us as an agency. To answer the question about is it coming back, PALS is a part of a program, youth engagement is a part of a program that I see growing into a large community engagement process. Cops, as we rebuild the COPS program, I would like to see that come back as well, but we have to take one step at a time.
What are those two programs?
PALS is a program that was here approximately 20 years ago. PALS was formerly known as Police Athletic Leagues, but now it's Police Activity League. It is about engaging our youth. It's about mentorship for our youth. That is something I'm big on. I think if we start setting the example of reaching out to these kids today, we can reduce some of the problems that we're having with our juveniles today. And that is what we're trying to do.
Some people have raised concerns about the way the NOPD officers have pursued suspects in 2 high-profile incidents this year. The latest incident just last Wednesday, it's been reported that police gave chase when they spotted a suspected stolen car. The result was a fiery crash that destroyed a beauty salon in Broadmoor. 3 people, including 2 teenagers in the car, died. 7 others were reportedly injured. Was the car chase a violation of NOPD policy on pursuit? And what can you tell us about the NOPD investigation into what happened in that incident?
So right now, that's an active investigation. That is the question we want to confirm. Did we pursue? If we did pursue, we were wrong. If it's a pursuit for a nonviolent offense, we have a no-chase policy. And as such, if this was a pursuit that occurred as a result of a nonviolent offense, we may be okay, but, we may not be. If it's a nonviolent offense, we have violated our own policy. I can't go into details with regards to the investigation because it is going, but I can tell you I have met with one of the parents and have reached out to a couple of other family members of the victims of this unfortunate incident. And they know, and I reassured them, that we will be transparent. And as this investigation progresses, we will be informing them before we inform the public every step of the way of what is going on with this investigation. And they were very appreciative of that.
So nonviolent means that there should have been no pursuit in that case?
No pursuit. If it's merely an auto theft, auto burglary, anything outside of a homicide, we should not be pursuing.
Another incident on February 17th involved a foot chase and a shootout with a suspect on Canal Street. Police killed the suspect, but 5 innocent bystanders were also shot and injured. Possibly, it's been reported, by police gunfire. Was NOPD policy violated in that incident, and how should the public have been protected in that case?
That is another unfortunate incident that occurred. NOPD policy, per se, with any criminal wrongdoing, there was none. That has been vetted by federal attorneys as well as the district attorney's office. So we're confident that that portion is clear. However, we are looking at administrative violations, meaning training issues, more or less. This is an incident in which these officers were doing their job and serving you, the community. This individual that they were trying to identify as a result of an investigation, armed robbery investigation, elected to initiate this rapidly evolving incident into a shootout. So, but these officers did what they had to do because they were challenged quickly. And we do not stand here proudly that we had innocent bystanders that were struck as a result of this unfortunate incident. But these officers were doing what they had to do at that time.
All right. Member of the audience asks, how many full-time police officers are currently on the force? How many do we need? How long will it take to get to complete staffing?
So currently we're at the number of approximately 1,222. We have been working throughout we have approximately 64 or 65 that are out as a result of injuries, limited duty, things of that nature. So we have been bringing them forward because we want to make sure that they are not abusing the system. We want to hold them accountable. Are they legitimately out, or are they abusing the system? So we have been having those hearings over the last couple of months to make sure that we're holding them accountable for their actions. An actual number, so how many officers we need, I would venture to say, I hate to put a number on it, what I would like to see is at approximately 1,500, and that is not just for arrest purposes. This is about getting the right people in various places. Investigations could use more investigators. I think this would be vital to increasing or giving us that community engagement piece as that PALS program that I would like to see built up. It would also allow us to be more visible and respond quicker.
So it'll take you a while to recruit those officers, but do you have the budget for that kind of a staff, that kind of a force?
Again, right now, for 2019, we have not budgeted ourselves for that enormous amount, no. Again, we're hoping, my goal is an additional 50, a net of 50, because we average approximately 70 to 80 officers that we lose every year. So if we can get that net 50, my goal right now is to have 120 officers to recruit in the recruit classes this year. So it would take a few years to get up to that 14 or 1,500. As I said earlier, about approximately 150 to 200 I would like to see over the next 3 years.
Donald Faust asks, should a recession occur soon, is the NOPD prepared for any related increases in crime?
That is the nature of our job. We adjust our strategy, our deployments every day based on what the circumstances are. So absolutely, we are ready.
Member of the audience asks, often police enforcement of quality of life issues in the French Quarter. I am told current ordinances cannot be enforced because of the opinion of the city attorney. Do you have any thoughts about that?
And that's something that we're in constant discussion about. We actually have a hearing today with Councilmember Giruso. We're going to be discussing that today. What are some avenues or proper ways in which we can take to enforce some ordinances? What are some ways or what are some ordinances that could be strengthened to help us better do our job in dealing with this?
What are some of the issues?
Some of the issues you have to be careful as to you're not violating people's rights with some of this stuff, you know. It could be on a sidewalk, but do we really want to take someone into custody for being on a sidewalk? So we want to walk this we're walking a fine line as to enforcement and as to, again, arrest is not the answer to everything. What help do they need? What services can be provided by other, maybe city departments that could, agencies that could help us get these people off the street? So we have to look at this from a holistic way, take a holistic approach. I don't think arresting would solve anything.
In the city's 2019 budget, your department said a priority for this year is achieving full compliance with the consent decree. You've talked about that, entering a 2-year monitoring phase. How realistic is that goal, and how do you achieve it?
So I believe it's very realistic. We're at 4 or 5 points in which we have to check off for this consent decree. One is supervision. Supervision because of ratio. That is supervisor to officer ratio when they're working. I think that is something on us that we have to own. We could do a better job at managing our scheduling. That is all that is about. The next is performance evaluations. We have several performance evaluations which the New Orleans Police Department is doing. One governed by the city, one governed by the consent decree, and another internally. So we're looking at streamlining this to make it one performance evaluation that will meet all requirements. Because frankly, you just cannot get a quality assessment of an employee by doing 3 different evaluations. As soon as a supervisor do one, they just want to do the other 2 just to get them off their desk. And it is not effective. Other things that we're looking at is recruitment as well as stop, search, and frisk.
A member of the audience asks, how do Danny and Eric's departure to join Chief Harrison in Baltimore affect our ability to comply and reinstate with the consent decree? Now, I know 2 mid-management level officers left to join the chief. That's what he's referring to. I don't know their names.
Yes, that is it.
Okay.
Danny Murphy, who is the chief of compliance, as well as Eric Malonzo, who is my chief of staff. Friday is their last day. And they played vital roles in what we've accomplished thus far. But I think this is the prime opportunity for us to show you, as well as the country, that we are prepared. We have put policies and procedures in place to show that we can press forward on our own, no matter who is the face or the name in these positions. The things that we've put in place, we're prepared to move forward. And I will say this, in that deputy chief role, I'm looking at putting a commissioned officer in there. I think this is an opportunity for us as sworn officers to show that we can hold ourselves accountable and we can press forward with that.
Member of the audience, Lisa asks, would you consider building a career tech program at either high school or community colleges for future recruitment?
You know, that's a great question. I had that conversation during my assignment at the Education and Training Division. Dr. Henderson is here. I've had an opportunity to talk to him, as well as Ms. Leslie Ellison. I think that is something we would like to explore, because that is a great recruitment opportunity. And not just for the police department. I actually looked at it as a public safety opportunity. We could have a course which includes fire, EMS, as well as the police department. But that is something to be further discussed.
Another question from the audience. How active is the much publicized MS-13 El Salvadoran gang in New Orleans? Is presence of such gangs growing here? We
have not had that issue. If they are here, they're very quiet. We have not had any issues with MS-13s. I know I'm familiar with them being in Houston, and that is about as close as I have seen them, but we have not had any issues with them at all in New Orleans.
Another member of the audience says, I rode my bike here today. What's the NOPD doing to train officers to enforce the laws of the road for both cyclists and drivers?
So as a result of that unfortunate double fatality during Mardi Gras, we have taken a look at ourselves and what it is that we can do to better improve our enforcement. We are beginning a pilot program where we are training officers from every district, a few officers from every district, on the bicycle laws. But we're looking at expanding that, making that a part of our training, our weekly training, our in-service training. So we have charged our Education and Training Division to look at opportunities in which we are able to educate our officers on enforcement and laws of bicyclists.
In that incident on Esplanade, Tashanti Tony was accused of a series of crimes, including vehicular homicide and negligent injury. He's the son of a police officer. When a relative of a police officer is involved in a crime, how do you ensure people might suspect they might get special treatment? What steps do you take to make sure they don't get special treatment?
Well, I mean we all know that I'm living proof of that. That happened my first week in office. So, I mean, it happens. Unfortunately, the Ashanti, that's his name, Ashanti?
Yes.
Ashanti, just as my son. They're grown men, but I can assure you, as I stand in front of you right here today, just as I sat with the mother of the kid involved in the fiery crash last week, that we will be transparent. We will hold them accountable. Just as I am held accountable, our officers are held accountable. These guys being related to police officers, it does not change a thing. They have their due process just as everyone else would.
Car theft has risen in New Orleans so far this year. What's driving this trend, do you think? I know one reason thieves are turning to it is because a lot of people leave their cars unlocked. But how can NOPD and the broader criminal justice system respond more effectively to this increasing concern?
Messaging. Lock your cars. Messaging. Do not leave your keys in your cars. Messaging. Remove your fob. Test your fobs. See how close they are to your vehicle. That is important. A lot of people do not realize if that door is unlocked, it doesn't even have to be unlocked on some cars. If that fob is close enough to their vehicle, all they have to do is pull on the door handle, then press that button, and they're going in your vehicle. So it's about us messaging to target harden yourselves, and we'll do our due diligence to make sure these juveniles are in at a reasonable time and not violating our curfew violations, because that is the time in which the removal occurs.
We've seen a lot of these car thefts on video thanks to cameras people have installed on their homes. How would you describe the value of those cameras in terms of identifying suspects and reducing crime?
That is a critical tool for us. Real-time crime center, your personal cameras with SafeCam. I think that are registered with SafeCam, it plays a vital role in what it is that we're doing. I know there's this misperception of we maybe violating people's rights by looking in on them from the real-time crime center. Everything that we do in that real-time crime center is motivated or pushed by a complaint. It's a complaint-driven operation. We do not just go into the center and just say, hey, I want to see what Shaun Ferguson is doing today. And it is documented. So to have this video, to have these cameras, it helps deter a lot of misconduct.
I wanted to ask you about the surveillance cameras. Former Mayor Mitch Landrieu had a number of crime cameras with red and blue flashing lights installed on crime hotspots, about 250 cameras, I believe. In your view, how well has that strategy worked in reducing crime, and would you like to have more of those crime cameras installed in other locations?
That is the real-time crime center cameras, the red and blue strobes. That absolutely. I think my history, my experience, my jacket is investigations. And camera systems are so important. If you see many of our suspects, if they see a camera, they won't go in that area. They're going to move. So it's a great deterrence, but it is a great tool also to follow up. So I definitely encourage to get as many cameras as possible.
What's your view about police body cameras, police wearing body cameras?
Best thing that could have ever happened. I mean, that was an initiative that we as a department did on our own. That was not mandated by the consent decree or anyone else. We did that on our own, and I think that is the best thing that could have happened because it changes our behavior just as it changes the citizens' behavior. It changes that whole interaction, and it holds everyone accountable as to how we are behaving or conducting ourselves. I absolutely love it.
Member of the audience asks, what is sent in our culture that leads to the high crime in the streets and among elected officials? What's going on in our culture?
Can you repeat that? What is going on in the culture that
leads to such crime?
I wish I could answer that question. I really don't. I don't know the answer. I think we just have to grab hold to our youth and let them know the positive of our city. You know, let them know that you can grow up in this city and there is opportunity within our city to be productive, to be successful, to be positive.
Member of the audience asks, how is your relationship with the municipal and traffic courts, and how can it be improved?
I think we have a great relationship. I mean, we have taken some initiatives to reduce some of the burden on them with regards to we're not arresting everyone. We are issuing citations where we need to issue citations, and I've had, before I came into this position, I've had a great relationship with the judges as well as the city attorneys with regards to anything that we can do to help one another and improve the process.
How do you look to improve partnerships with other local law enforcement groups, the sheriffs, state police?
Well, I'll be at lunch tomorrow with Joe LaPinto, and we're going to discuss just that. We've had great relationships with them, but I think we could do a better job at that. I think we could have a better partnership with that. I mean, these are opportunities in which we could discuss some of these technology and innovation things that we can see how we can cross-reference some of the tools. Because, I mean, let's face it, I mean, we may have jurisdictions, but the criminals do not. So we need to be able to have that relationship to discuss it. And Colonel Reeves has, from day one, he as well as FBI, SAC, Eric Rommel have been constant partners. I talk to each of them at least once a week.
A related question, how do you feel about the need for state police presence in the French Quarter, and should the state police presence be for a long-term situation, or should it transition back to strictly NOPD?
I think at some point we should transition back. I won't say completely. I think that partnership, just as I just spoke of, is important. I think at some point in time we have to own our own ship. We have to be able to patrol our own streets, and as we grow, so should our responsibility grow in policing our streets.
An NOPD press release says the police arrested 323 people throughout the city for crimes committed during the two-week Mardi Gras season this year. 81 of those arrests were for illegal possession of firearms, an increase from last year of 54 arrests for the same charge, and police seized 84 guns throughout the two-week period. What should we take from that? What are your concerns about all of these guns at public events where people are drinking?
I mean, that's a big concern, you know, and that was the purpose of us messaging throughout the Mardi Gras season, that we were prepared to deal with whatever, and our officers did that. I commend the men and women of the police department. I commend our local, state, and federal partners for their assistance in this. We were able to identify the right individuals. And I think I may have said 311 earlier, so you said the number 323, so it's 411 that we did last year. So we reduced the number of arrests, but we increased the gun arrests. And I think that is significant. That means we're being smarter, we're doing smarter police work.
In your more than 20 years as a police officer, what are some of the biggest changes you've seen? How has the skill set it takes to perform the job well changed in those years?
Well, I can't say. It has changed tremendously since I've been on the job. Some things in which we were antiquated in, paperwork, electronic police reporting, we made tremendous strides in that. But the culture is the biggest difference. The behavior of the men and women is the biggest difference. There are no more cover-ups. We're working hard, and we have administration over the last few years. You have seen an administration that are holding us accountable, an administration that are making sure that we are transparent and effective in everything that it is that we're doing, thereby gaining the trust of each of you that are out here this morning.
Well, how has social media affected police work? What challenges has it created, and what advantages and assistance does it provide for you in fighting crime?
So social media has given us an opportunity to message our story out as fast as possible, but it can also be a hindrance. But that is the difference in me growing up as a child compared to the kids today. They learn things on the social media, they learn things through their thumb devices quicker than what it is that we did when we were growing up. So we just have to find that balance, but we have to use these same tools to stay ahead of the game. That's a part of innovation and our technology developing. How
can NOPD operations become more efficient? What plans do you have to achieve those efficiencies?
How we can become more efficient, that is some discussion that we have every day. And I think that is a discussion beyond the police department. I always welcome city government. I welcome the public. Let's discuss that. Every month, every district have what they call a non-PAC meeting, a community meeting, which that district commander is giving the message of telling the story of what is going on in their district. And at that point in time, we welcome that partnership of telling us, what can we do better? What are your concerns? And that is how we can better ourselves.
Member of the audience, Lisa asks, is there a respectful working relationship among NOPD, public defenders, district attorney, and judges working to make the city safer?
Yes, I mean, we all work together. We may agree, we may disagree at times on things, but we agree to disagree. We find that balance. We find that area in which we can say, okay, I understand your part and I understand your part, but how can we move forward? So there's that dialogue. I can tell you that dialogue occurs daily.
You have talked about completing compliance with the consent decree. What remains to be done to actually achieve that compliance?
Again, the supervision portion, the recruitment portion, performance evaluation are our top three right now.
Okay, you just won the lottery. You got $1 million, your full discretion to use any way you want in the NOPD. What would you do with that $1 million? $1
million in the NOPD right now is, I have Ms. Amanetta right there. It'll probably go to Ms. Amanetta Brown. She's over our technology division, and I'm big on that. We've identified some areas in which we are redundant in some of the things that we do. So I'm all about working smarter, not harder, so I want to be more efficient. That is where I'll probably invest those funds.
Another of the department's priorities in the 2019 budget calls for fully launching the third-party traffic management for minor accidents. Can you describe what that's all about, when and how it'll take effect?
So right now we're still running a pilot program with it. This is a part of our burden reduction program where we're trying to offset some of the burden on our patrol officers where they could go out on the street and actually do an effective job for you in the neighborhoods. So with this on-scene investigation, this third party, we would like to see them handle these car accidents. That's something that I personally don't believe the officers just have to be there. These investigators are retired police officers who will be trained by the Louisiana State Police on traffic investigations. So therefore, they will be able to make a sound judgment as to who is right and who is wrong. But it also gives us that opportunity as an agency to focus on other things.
What are call response times right now, and what are your goals? What should they be? How do you improve call response times?
It varies from district to district, and that is all about deployment. Right now, some districts average 10 to 11 minutes, some are at 8 to 9 minutes. Our goal has always been 7 minutes, and that varies from district to district. Deployment is key to that, identifying how to place your officers in that position to respond to that. But the other side of that also is a part of our burden reduction program, doing some online reporting, taking some reports to our alternative police reporting division where we can take these reports over the phone. That again frees up our officers to allow them to respond quicker.
Okay, what is your opinion of the civil service system reform known as the Great Place to Work initiative? What changes to civil service would allow the NOPD to better hire and retain talent?
So the Great Place to Work initiative, we're doing a great job with that, with the hiring. We just, again, as you see across the country, that recruitment piece is big. We are working on overcoming that. Police and Justice Foundation has been significant in that. But that program we are discussing with the fire department, the biggest impact from that program is promotions. So we're identifying a way in which we could promote fairly our officers as well as the fire department. And I think in doing so, that would help lift the morale.
Describe what the program is, how it works.
So the Great Place to Work initiative is about identifying individuals, which we're making sure that everyone realizes where you're working is a great place to work, but it is about identifying the right individuals to move forward in this program or in this process or in this department in which they're working. In the past, we've had some controversy over how we're promoting people as a result of this Great Place to Work initiative, where individuals have just been picked from all over the promotional list and not necessarily by the way they scored. But we do need, I can't say that. I don't think that testing tells everything about that individual candidate as they're testing for promotion. There's some performance evaluation. There are some other tools, other things that we must consider when promoting someone. And this is where we get into the gray area, and this is where the discussion has begun as to how do we move forward. And I think we've had some great discussion with our labor unions, panel, FOP, as well as the fire department union to identify ways in we could move forward together.
Have civil service rules tied your hands?
No, they have been receptive somewhat. In some ways, they have been very receptive to what it is that we're presenting. It's a give or take thing. We give something, we have to take something, and it's going to go back and forth until we identify the right way. And they have been great at listening to what it is that we're trying to do as a department or city agency, as well as listening to the labor unions' concern. Mm-hmm. And we try to find that middle ground, common ground.
Chief, you mentioned that attrition is down. The NOPD is doing a better job of keeping officers. But what can you do to improve that, to reduce attrition even further, to keep the officers from leaving?
Create opportunity for growth. Being able to move into those detective position means a lot for them. Being able to be promoted at some point in their career, it goes a long way. Being able to work in a fair environment would mean the world to them.
Chief, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for questions. Thank you, Chief Ferguson. Thanks again to Iberia Bank for its generous sponsorship of this breakfast briefing, and thanks to all of you for being here with us. We hope this event has been informative and that we'll see you again at future BGR events. Have a great day.